you feeling, sisters and brothers, beautiful people? Last December, the Supreme Court heard arguments in a case out of Mississippi, Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health. And this is a case that could upend, could overturn the landmark 1973 Roe v. Wade decision that first granted women the right to abortion nationwide. And during that hearing, the fascist majority on the court made it crystal clear and gave every indication that they are on track to take this right away. This is an emergency, sisters and brothers. And during that hearing, that fascist theocrat who Donald Trump put on the court, Amy Coney Barrett, she said, what's the big deal? What's the big deal about forcing a woman to carry a pregnancy she doesn't want and have a child she doesn't want? Because there are laws that say she could just drop the baby off at a police station. Think about the cruelty of that. Think about the violence of that. Think about the state being given the power to hijack a woman's body, to turn her into an incubator, to force her to undergo 9 months of pregnancy, with all the health risks that entails, with all the stigma and the judgment that often comes with that, with all the force and the humiliation of being taken over by the state, and the trauma of having to wonder for your life, what became of that child you were forced to create? Think about that. This is one of the people who has the power right now if we do not stand up to decide the fate of women. And think about all of the women who will be forced to have children they do not want, who will have their lives foreclosed, their dreams shattered. Think about the daughters and the brutality that will be brought down on them by parents and fathers who think they brought shame on their family. Think about the women who will be forced to drop out of school or lose their jobs or be driven into poverty. Think about the women who will be trapped in abuse. The shotgun marriage is the lifetime of misery. This is why we say, and it is true, forced motherhood is female enslavement. I want you to say that. Forced motherhood is female enslavement. Now say this, when women are not free, no one is free. Only the people can stop this. And I want you to understand that every attack on abortion over the last several decades, every woman who's been harassed and called a murderer outside a clinic door, every doctor who has been assassinated, every law and restriction that has been passed, all of them are unjust. None of them were fought the way they needed to be fought. But understand this. They have all led to the moment we are in today. We are at a tipping point where the highest court in the land is on track to take this right away, to bring the full force of the state down on the half of humanity that is born female and to unleash a living fucking nightmare. This is the tipping point. This is the tipping point, and this is where we must draw a line and fight like our lives, like the lives of women and girls and future generations are on the line, because they are. Last week I was here in this square and we were building for this rally, and I had this green bandana. And a woman from Argentina came running up. She knew what it meant. And I'll talk about that in a minute, but she had advice for the women of this country. This means abortion rights. This means struggle for abortion rights. This means not asking politely, but getting out in the streets and demanding it. And she came up and I said, what are your lessons for women in this country? And she said, listen up. It is far easier to defend a right while you still have it than to fight to bring it back after you've lost it. The time is now. So how are we going to do this? Because they have the court and they are on track, and look around, we've got a beautiful crowd, but not nearly enough people. How are we going to do this? There is a flyer that we are handing out today. Everybody needs to get it. And there are two crucial things we need to do, and they're concentrated on this flyer. Number one, we need to let people know all across this society, you are here because you know and you care, but trust me, most people don't even know that this right is on the line. Most people have no idea, and they will not find out if we don't go out and wake them up. And the second thing we need to do is we need to act with courage and defiance. We need to stand up. We need to put it on the line, and we need to rouse the courage and the fighting spirit in millions of others. I want to read what this flyer says. It says, it's very simple. It says the U.S. Supreme Court is poised to take away women's right to abortion this spring. Only the people can stop it. Take to the streets and rise up for abortion rights now. Abortion on demand and without apology. Forced motherhood is female enslavement. Now, I've talked about what the court is going to do, and I've talked about forced motherhood as female enslavement, but I want to focus on these words now in this flyer, where it says only the people can stop this. It is very important. The courts are not going to stop this. They are packed with fascists. Voting in the elections is not going to stop this. The fascist Republican Party is rigging the elections, suppressing the vote, and they have already made clear that they are willing to use violence to overturn any election they lose. And the Democratic Party is not going to stop this. Biden won't even say the word abortion. And the Democratic Party is busy seeking common ground with these religious fanatics and fascists and appealing to their decency, even while these fascists kick them in the teeth and threaten their lives. And this will not be stopped by relying on the official women's movement, where the so-called leaders of this so-called movement are telling people that there's nothing you can do but accept the fall of Roe v. Wade and prepare for a post-Roe world. Hell no! Only the people can stop this. Only the people. That is you, each of you, and those we get out there and wake them up and mobilize them. And we can do this because we have right on our side. We are standing for the interests of millions and millions of women and girls, whether they know it yet or not. And we can do this because there is a suppressed fury, a rage that is deep in the hearts of women across this country and around this world at thousands and thousands of years of patriarchal chains, of brutality and control, of enslavement and shame. And there is a fury that can be woken up and aroused as these chains of oppression are being tightened yet again. But that will not be woken up if we don't go out and mobilize it and act on our fury and act with courage and put it on the line, and that is what we must do. Merle talked about how a few days ago people with Rise Up for Abortion Rights got in the face of Amy Coney Barrett and called her out. We need this all over the country. Acts of courage and defiance right up in the face of these fascists that cannot be ignored. They get caught in the media that stir and wake others up. We need street theater. We need flash mobs. We need civil disobedience. We need walkouts. We need each of you to be part of putting your heads together and organizing and strategizing. How are we going to act to wake others up? And do not tell yourself it cannot be done. We all lived through that beautiful rising. Just 2 years ago, the beautiful rising against the police murder of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, we all saw the conscience of the people of this country be woken up by people who drew a line and said no more. I was in Minneapolis. Don't let them steal from you the memories and the lessons of what we accomplished. I saw thousands of young people, mainly white, sit down in the streets and refuse to move as the National Guard came at them with tear gas and rubber canisters. They did it because Black Lives Matter. And they changed the hearts of millions of people, and they did it quickly across this country. And women's lives matter too. And we have to get out there and arouse the same kind of fight. And I want to tell you, the Supreme Court and all the other rulers, they are political institutions. They look out at the society and they judge the popular will and what they can get away with. And when people sat down and let them take away the right to abortion in Texas without rising up, without walking out, without shutting down the freeways, without bringing society to a halt, they got the signal, these Christian fascists, that they could put their foot on the accelerator and come for the rights of women across this country, and they have been. So we have to rise up and make it clear to the Supreme Court and the fascists everywhere else that there will be a political price to pay in their legitimacy, in the eyes of millions, in the eyes of people around the world. That is what we can change when we rise up. And on the week, this is also on the flyer, May 8th through 14th. And we're having an organizing Zoom next weekend. On Saturday, you all need to join it to learn, to bring your ideas, to get organized. May 8th through 18th, we are having a national week of rising up for abortion rights. And we need walkouts, and we need shutdowns, and we need acts on stage and in the sciences, in the arts, in the schools, in the streets, in the institutions and workplaces, everywhere. We need to rock this society and make it clear that if they lay their hands on the right to abortion, if they lay their hands on women's bodies and lives, their society will be prevented from functioning at all. And as we go forward in this fight, we are going to lift our heads and we are going to struggle over and ask the big questions. What kind of society do we live in where these rights are under attack 50 years after they were won? What is it going to take to win this fight once and for all? And we're going to have different views in how we come at this. And we're not going to agree on everything. But I want to tell you, I come at this as a follower of the revolutionary leader Bob Avakian. He is the architect of the new communism, and he is a big reason why I am such a ferocious fighter for abortion rights and the liberation of women. Because I see this as central to the emancipation of all of humanity. And I want to read to you a quote from him that has powerful insight. He says this whole question of the position and role of women in society is more and more acutely posed in today's extreme circumstances. This is a powder keg in the U.S. today. It is not conceivable that all this will find any resolution other than in the most radical terms and through extremely violent means. The question yet to be determined is, will it be a radical reactionary or a radical revolutionary resolution? Will it mean the reinforcing of the chains of enslavement or the shattering of the most decisive links in those chains and the opening up of the possibility of realizing the complete elimination of all forms of such enslavement? This is what is concentrated in this fight right now, and this is how I come at it and invite you to come at it as part of building to bring about a whole better world where all humanity is emancipated. And I invite you to tune in and learn more about the revolution I'm part of on the YouTube show I co-host, the RNL Revolution Nothing Less show, every Thursday night. Find out about it. And I want to say, once again, that the future I want and the future you want, even if there are differences, none of them are possible if we lay down and accept half of humanity being enslaved. So now is the time for us to stand shoulder to shoulder together, to find our courage, to rise to this moment in history, and to wake others up. We need to wave this bandana and wear it every day. And I want you to say it with me. Abortion on demand and without apology. Abortion on demand and without apology. Abortion on demand and without apology. Rise up, wear green.